I still couldn't believe it even when it happened. Even now I find it hard to trust my shaking fingers as they detail the events that will forever terrify me. If I had known what I had found in that forsaken tomb all those years ago, I never would have gone to Egypt in search of this unholy beauty. Seems like a lifetime ago from today, September 18th, that my fellow travelers and I went on an archaeological expedition to those famed Egyptian desert lands, funded by our university to check a particular tomb that was accidentally excavated by regional locals. They had been walking nonchalantly when all of a sudden the ground caved in, catapulting them a couple dozen feet into an ancient room. Hieroglyphics covered the walls, and a single coffin occupied the center of the musty room. It was a grand find that many of us in higher scientific backgrounds found breathtaking. We had made haste to get to these forsaken grounds in hopes of discovering something unheard of. We didn't expect to find horrors, but our naivety proved to be the curse of high intellect. When we got there with all our equipment, we asked the locals of this great find. They reluctantly complied in answering some of our questions. The subject as a whole deeply scared them, as they tried to avoid us as much as possible. It took a 20-foot-long rope ladder to reach the tomb, and once we got there, it was well earned. With our flashlights, we observed and gave witness to a spectacle of any lifetime. The hieroglyphics were enough to make one question his very existence, as they depicted some familiar tales passed down from generation to generation with subtle differences. We dusted the whole area, which was a 30-foot-long square in all four directions. After removing the dirt from the walls, we found we were situated in a room completely encased in solid gold. We plaster cast some of the hieroglyphics, trying to mimic the stories told through the illustrations. We succeeded, but only did a mediocre job. What happened next, I still don't understand fully. When we began to investigate the coffin, engulfed in bronze, two objects collapsed from the ceiling onto it, with such power that it had cracked the sacred casket in two, down the middle from top to bottom. The foundations of the room shook as if some massive earthquake was coming, but such a known phenomenon was not it. It was the coffin. As a blood-colored red light shone from within the rectangle, many of my fellow archaeologists were frozen in awe, but the rest of us ran for the rope ladder, filled with terror-stricken adrenaline, scrambling to get out. "Run!" I screamed at them. But none listened. Engrossed at what they were staring at, I was the last to go up to the rope ladder. When I gave one final glance back, I saw the coffin was falling apart bit by bit, as the two objects started to etch closer and closer to it, being pulled in by some invisible force. When I looked closer, I was confronted by revulsion, as I realized that the two objects were actually petrified wings that stretched 15 feet in length. In panic, I started climbing up as fast as I could, losing my footing and gripping occasionally. The foundations were continually in motion, making my ascent even more treacherous. From below, I could hear bellows of fear emitting from my colleagues. The terrifying specter of the monster whom I had hoped never to witness performed what I could only assume to be a very painful death upon the lot of them. Their last breaths were blood-curdling. Halfway up the ladder, I glanced down to see a mass of red, muscled flesh with no outer skin fly past my eyes at a speed that still baffles me. It was bathed in a slimy liquid from head to toe, streaming down its corpse of a formation. It was very human in shape, body, and structure. Only the lack of flesh that was appalling, and also the skeletal wings which were then attached to the back, flapping furiously at its escape from the tomb. I was not a religious person, nor was I a believer of any supernatural aspect of life, but what flew past me at a speed I still find unfathomable. It was an angel. I quickly climbed up the ladder and saw that the rest of my partners were staring in wonder off into the distance, the sun setting over a cliff where the angel sat peacefully. As I approached it, brave and stubborn of what was before me, it spoke with a most cut-off tongue, in a bitter monotone voice, admiring the beautiful sunset.
"It has been a millennia since I last saw the sun, and now, when I do see it again, it is at its most radiant. But as it departs, how tragic.
What are you? I asked a little more ignorantly than I wanted to sound. It turned to me with a look of smugness, then turned back to the sunset.
Malak Almat.
It replied, loathingly.
That was, and still is, my name.
The angel, calmly sitting before me on the edge of a large cliff, showed great disdain towards me and all Homo sapiens. For reasons of our ancestry apparently being the only ones that caused him such pain and torture, answering why it was imprisoned in the coffin for God only knows how long. It sighed.
A man of science, searching for answers to all secrets, no matter the cost or torment. Such an overzealous existence. But I shall gift you with answers to all secrets as a favor for releasing me from that casket. Though, this may prove to be more of a curse than a gift.
The words that further escaped its mouth I dare not repeat, for such answers no sane person would ever hear. I find it more disturbing that I have yet to lose all grip of reality, and the words this angel, who though not fallen, but far from heavenly, spoke still haunt me today. Many nights I have contemplated ending my life to rid myself of these curses, but then the truth of what lies beyond returns to me, and I beckon in an existence of agony. When it finished speaking, I fell to the sands bewildered at what I had just been told with such ease and calm clarity. The things it spoke of were what shook me to the bone. Tears were streaming down my cheeks as the world became bleaker and downright grotesque. The angel looked up at the darkening sky as the night approached and gave a slight smirk, a disgusting gesture, both physically and emotionally.
Watch the skies above. For when the birds cause the great giants to fall and shake the earth, then the end will begin, an omen of the apocalypse. For he will not save any of you, so dread the day, for it will come.
It stood up, standing tall as it basked in the air with such great self-indulgence. A look of glee resonated from its face, its wings stretched out to full length as the angel of death leaped forward off the cliff and gracefully flew off into the night sky, leaving the world it knew only a prison. I sat there in the sands for a long time. I shuddered at not the cold air which crept up my back, but at the angel and the words it spoke, revealing the answers to secrets no human being should ever hear. When we returned back, I ran away, fearful of encountering my family, friends, and all I was acquainted with, as the ominous speech was still etched in my head, clawing at my brain. I fought for my sanity for years, and about a month ago, I'd regained it. However, such relief will never be granted to me, as my fears have returned in a great abundance. What could have ruined such progress? One may ponder. Such memorial breakdowns were put onto myself as when I listened to the radio a week prior. On the horrible day, September 11th.